In the vast expanse of the cosmos, peace was a fragile illusion, delicately maintained by the Galactic Federation, a sprawling alliance of countless species united by necessity rather than trust. For centuries, this tenuous balance held, a cold peace forged through treaties and concessions. Humanity, the Federation's newest member, had entered this stage with a reputation for resilience and ingenuity, a young race among ancient giants. The Federation's council chambers were a monument to unity, an awe-inspiring arena of gleaming metals and shifting light, designed to accommodate beings of every imaginable form. Humanity's place within this hall was a reminder of their ascent, hard-won through diplomacy and sacrifice. Yet, even this alliance was powerless to curb the ambitions of the Zenith Empire. The Zenith were the galaxy's eldest and most powerful species, their empire spanning countless systems. Their mastery of war was unmatched, their fleets vast and their warriors feared. To the Zenith, the Federation's laws were an insult to their supremacy, a cage unworthy of their greatness. They had abided by the treaties not out of respect but out of convenience, until now. The first whispers of the atrocity came from the outer colonies, distant outposts where humans and other species coexisted in fragile harmony. A fleet of Zenith warships had descended without warning, annihilating a thriving settlement in a single, devastating strike. The survivors' desperate transmissions painted a grim picture. Entire families wiped out, their cities turned to ash. Among the dead were humans, whose cries echoed across the stars. The Federation convened in urgency, its council chambers filled with the somber murmur of representatives grappling with the enormity of the Zenith's betrayal. The room buzzed with unease as reports of the attack circulated. The Zenith Empire had violated a peace that had endured for generations, their act not of necessity but of arrogance. Seated among the representatives, the human diplomat remained silent, their face a mask of control. To many, they were an enigma, a figure who had navigated countless crises with calm precision. But those who knew them well saw the storm brewing behind their steady gaze. They had read the reports, seen the faces of the dead, and felt the weight of their people's anguish. The council called upon the Zenith envoy, a towering figure clad in armor adorned with symbols of conquest. Their voice echoed with disdain as they addressed the chamber. They justified the attack as an assertion of strength, dismissing the Federation's treaties as the delusions of lesser species. The strong dominate, they declared, their tone dripping with contempt. The weak exist at our mercy. Gasps filled the chamber, but no one dared to challenge them, not openly. Fear of the Zenith empires might silence even the boldest voices. All except one. The human diplomat rose slowly, their movements deliberate. The chamber quieted as they stepped forward, their presence commanding attention. The weight of humanity's history pressed upon them. Centuries of war, resilience, and unyielding defiance. They spoke not with anger but with a calm that cut deeper than any rage. Strength is not measured by the lives you destroy, they began, their voice steady. It is measured by the lives you protect. Your empire sees itself as invincible, but your actions betray your fear. You attack the defenseless because you are terrified of those who stand united. The Zenith envoy sneered but said nothing, their confidence momentarily shaken. The human diplomat continued, their words weaving through the chamber like a blade. You believe humanity to be weak because we are new to this stage. Let me remind you, we are a species forged in adversity. We have faced extinction by our own hands and emerged stronger. Do not mistake our desire for peace as an absence of resolve. The chamber erupted in murmurs, the diplomat's words resonating with representatives who had long been cowed by Zenith dominance. The diplomat did not pause, their focus unyielding. This is not just an attack on humanity, they declared, their voice rising. It is an attack on every species that values freedom and life. If the Zenith Empire believes it can shatter the Federation's unity, you will find you have underestimated us all. The council's silence was deafening, the weight of the moment pressing on every being present. The human diplomats stood firm, their gaze unwavering as they faced the Zenith envoy. In that moment, the balance of power shifted, Not through weapons or war, but through the undeniable force of words, the spark of defiance that refused to be extinguished. Humanity's voice had risen, and the galaxy would never be the same. The council chamber was silent as the Zenith envoy took center stage, their imposing figure exuding an aura of superiority. Clad in ceremonial armor, they carried themselves with the confidence of a predator among prey. Their eyes scanned the room with disdain, a thin smirk curling their lips as they addressed the assembly. "We do not apologize for our actions," the envoy began, their voice resonating with cold arrogance. "The Zenith Empire has no need for your feeble treaties. Strength defines our destiny, and weakness has no place in the galaxy. What we have done is a reminder of the natural order. The strong lead, the weak follow or perish." The statement hung in the air like a weapon, its sharpness cutting through the collective unease of the gathered representatives. Species that had suffered under Zenith rule in the past flinched, their voices stilled by the weight of centuries-old fear. Even among the most resolute members of the Federation, hesitation rippled like a silent current. The human diplomat watched intently, their hands folded calmly before them. They allowed the Zenith envoy's words to echo, knowing the weight of silence could sometimes speak louder than immediate rebuttal. There was power in letting arrogance overextend itself. When the envoy finished, they turned their gaze directly to the human diplomat. "And you," they sneered, "your people dare to stand here claiming equality among us? You are nothing, a fledgling species barely crawling from the shadows of your own chaos. What right do you have to question the will of an empire that has ruled for millennia?" Murmurs spread across the chamber as the insult struck its intended target. Representatives shifted uncomfortably, unwilling to meet the human diplomat's gaze. The tension in the air was palpable, the Zenith envoy's words amplifying the divisions within the Federation. For the envoy, it was a calculated move, divide and conquer. But they had underestimated the human standing before them. The diplomat stood slowly, their movements deliberate and measured. They didn't rush to respond. Instead, they allowed the silence to stretch, drawing the focus of every being in the chamber. When they finally spoke, their voice was calm, almost quiet, yet it carried with it an undeniable weight. "Your empire speaks of strength," the diplomat began, their tone devoid of emotion. "You brandish it like a weapon, a shield to justify your actions. But true strength is not found in destruction. It is found in unity, in the resolve to build rather than to tear down. Tell me, is it strength to massacre the defenseless? Is it strength to cower behind threats and violence because you fear cooperation?" The Zenith envoy's smirk faltered, but they quickly recovered, scoffing at the words. "Spare us your platitudes. Words are the tools of the weak. Empires are forged through conquest, not hollow ideals." The human diplomat didn't flinch. Instead, they took a step forward, their voice sharpening. "Conquest is a fleeting victory. Empires rise and fall, their ashes scattered by time. What endures are the bonds we create, the legacies of those who dared to strive for something greater than domination. Your empire is old, Zenith, but with all your centuries you have learned nothing. You repeat the same cycles, and for what? To remind the galaxy of your fear." The envoy bristled, their composure slipping. "We fear no one," they spat, their tone laced with frustration. "No," the diplomat said, their voice now tinged with an edge. "You fear everyone. You fear the Federation because it represents what you cannot control. You fear humanity because we remind you of the resilience you've tried to crush. And most of all, you fear what the galaxy will become if species like ours refuse to bow." The chamber erupted in hushed whispers, the ripple of dissent spreading like wildfire. The human diplomat's words resonated with species that had long suffered in silence, their fear giving way to something far more powerful, hope. The Zenith envoy struggled to regain control, their voice rising. "You are fools to challenge us. Do you think words alone can stand against our fleets, our armies? We are the Zenith. We are invincible." The human diplomat's gaze remained steady. "Invincible? No empire is invincible. History is littered with the ruins of those who thought themselves untouchable. The question is not whether you can be defeated. The question is how long you will cling to this delusion before the galaxy unites to end it. The murmurs grew louder as the diplomat's words ignited a spark within the council. Representatives from species who had once been too afraid to speak now exchanged determined glances. The Zenith envoy, sensing the shift, could only glare at the human with barely concealed fury. The diplomat stepped back, their final words cutting through the din like a blade. You have made your choice, Zenith, but so have we. And when the time comes, do not mistake our patience for weakness or our diplomacy for surrender. Humanity is not here to follow. We are here to stand. The chamber fell into an uneasy silence, the weight of the moment settling heavily on every being present. The Zenith envoy's arrogance had met its match, and for the first time, cracks began to form in the facade of their empire's unassailable dominance. The silence following the human diplomat's declaration was electric, heavy with the weight of unspoken truths. The Zenith envoy, visibly unsettled, attempted to mask their discomfort with a sneer, but the cracks in their composure were evident. The council chamber was no longer theirs to command. The human diplomat did not wait for the Zenith envoy to recover. They stepped forward again, their voice sharp, cutting through the tense atmosphere. You speak of your empire's greatness as though it were eternal, yet here you are, defending an act of cowardice. You didn't attack a military target. You didn't challenge the Federation's fleets. No, you slaughtered civilians, farmers, workers, families. And you call that strength? The Zenith envoy snarled, their arrogance now tinged with desperation. You dare to lecture us? Your species is insignificant, a mere flicker in the galaxy's long history. What do you know of strength or survival? The diplomat's eyes narrowed, their tone hardening. We know survival better than most. Humanity has faced extinction not once but many times. We've stood at the brink, torn apart by wars, natural disasters, and our own mistakes. And every time we've rebuilt. We've endured. That's the difference between us, Zenith. You destroy because you fear losing control. We survive because we adapt, because we refuse to break. The chamber began to shift. Representatives who had been silent now leaned forward, their expressions intent. The Zenith envoy glanced around, realizing too late that the human's words were resonating far beyond their intended target. And don't mistake our desire for peace as weakness, the diplomat continued, their voice rising. You see, humanity has mastered war. We've fought battles that scarred our very planet, conflicts that reshaped the course of history. We've seen horrors that would make even your empire hesitate. But we've chosen a different path. Not because we can't fight, but because we know the cost. The Zenith envoy's bravado faltered. They opened their mouth to retort, but the diplomat cut them off with a raised hand. You think your fleets are invincible? Your warriors unmatched? Perhaps they are. But you don't understand us. You think because we're new to the stars we're unprepared. Let me enlighten you. Humanity has always prepared for the worst, even in times of peace. We've built weapons not to conquer, but to protect. We've developed strategies not for expansion, but for survival. And if you push us, you will find out exactly what that means. The tension in the room was palpable now, the weight of the human's words pressing down on every being present. The Zenith envoy's arrogance had shifted to unease, their confidence eroding under the relentless onslaught of truth. The diplomat's voice softened, but the steel beneath it remained. But this isn't just about humanity, is it? Your attack wasn't an isolated act of aggression. It was a message to every species in this chamber. A reminder that you see us all as beneath you. And yet, here we are, united. That's what you fear most. Not humanity alone, but what we represent. A galaxy that no longer bows to your threats. The murmurs in the chamber grew louder, the tide of opinion visibly shifting. Representatives exchanged glances, their fear giving way to a growing resolve. The Zenith envoy shifted uncomfortably, their once commanding presence diminished. The diplomat pressed on, their words now directed at the entire council. We may come from different worlds, different histories, but today we face the same challenge. The Zenith Empire has made it clear they will not respect our treaties, our values, or our lives. So I ask you, will we let them divide us? Will we let them continue their reign of terror unchecked? Or will we stand together, united in the face of tyranny? A roar of agreement rose from the chamber, the voices of countless species joining in a chorus of defiance. The Zenith envoy's expression darkened, but they said nothing. They could see the writing on the wall. Their empire's intimidation was no longer absolute. The human diplomat turned back to the envoy, their gaze unwavering. You wanted to send a message, and you have. You've reminded us of the stakes. But we have a message for you as well. The Federation will not be cowed. Humanity will not be cowed. You may think you're invincible, but history has shown that even the mightiest empires fall. And when they do, it's not because of war alone. It's because they underestimated the power of those who dared to stand against them. The chamber erupted again, this time with cheers, the sound echoing through the vast hall. The Zenith envoy's silence spoke volumes, their once commanding presence now reduced to a shadow of its former self. The human diplomats stepped back, their role complete. They had said what needed to be said, igniting a fire within the Federation that no empire could extinguish. The Zenith had sought to break the galaxy's spirit, but instead, they had awakened its resolve.